never rests.
Counting careless in the sky. What a thrilling time to be alive.
Welcome to the Georgia Show. I'm Jake Rowe. He's Rusty Mansell's, Palmer Toms. We're here to talk about Missouri, some of the things we saw in the Missouri games, hit on some specifics. We're going to dive into Ole Miss, maybe talk a little recruiting. We got a lot to get to. Palmer, before we get to any of it, I just want to go ahead and salute one of our partners real fast, Game Time. GameTime.co, one of the finest ticket apps you will find out there. I talked to about 3 people this weekend who I directed to Game Time to work on, getting tickets for this past week's Georgia game. Stress-free experience. All three of those folks needed more than just 2 tickets. So they were able to kind of cash in on that $20 off with the promo code DAWGS Dogs. But listen, this is such an intuitive app. It's you get a full view of exactly what things would look like from your seat. You get to look at it from map view. You can look at it from list view. It is a phenomenal app, and you need to check it out. Download the app now and get $20 off of your first order. Terms apply with the promo code DAWGS, or you can go to GameTime, GameTime.co. Don't throw the M on the air. .co and get your tickets. I mean, come on, Game Time's awesome. We wouldn't be stumping for them if they weren't.
That $20 off will come in pretty handy this weekend. Look at those prices.
Yeah, there's some tickets for this Ole Miss game, which will be at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time. If you're over at DawgsHQ, you knew that last Monday. Rusty Mansell told you. All right, let's talk about this game. All right, Georgia, Missouri. Georgia wins 30-21. Didn't get to be on the post-game show, Rusty, so I don't know what you said, man. I've been kind of busy since then. Didn't watch it, sorry. I hadn't had a chance to watch it, but because I knew I was going to get a chance to talk with you about it. I don't know. What has stood out to you from any sort of highlight or rewatching that you've got to do with this game?
I think that we nailed it last week. Now, did we know what we were going to nail? We did not, but we knew Georgia was going to have a wrinkle, and I couldn't wait to see what Georgia did on third down. Well, Georgia had a different wrinkle. Not only did they have a third down package, they had a first down package. And I think it's kind of a prelude to Georgia not showing this. They didn't show it all year. They haven't shown this yet. And it was probably purposely because of this offensive threat that Missouri was, this quarterback, these wide receivers. Also, knowing that the next 3 games, they were going to face quarterbacks that can hurt you in the passing game, receivers that are going to be, things like this to cover and man up. But Georgia comes out in a 3-cornerback, basically, package. And then they take Kamari Lassiter, who is their number 1 corner. And usually, am I right, Jake? He usually plays field corner. They take him and they put him in the slot for most of the better part, one-on-one with Luther Burden. And that was basically Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann and Will Muschamp saying, our guy is – we're confident in our guy versus your alpha. And for everything that particular matchup, Kamari Lassiter more than held his own. And you talking about a game tape for NFL for Kamari Lassiter, he made some money yesterday. Now the majority of the throws were at DAndre Everett, and that's okay. And you kind of, if you're going to do that, you got to know as a staff that's where they're going to go. And they kept that back shoulder to Theo Weiss and Weiss there, and Weiss, my goodness, from the Oklahoma transfer. And but you saw Julian Humphrey inserted into the lineup. So we knew there was going to be a wrinkle. I didn't really know what they were going to do on third down because Brady Cook, I'll tell you this, I said it last night on the show, man, Brady Cook speed TV does it no justice because in person, that kid can freaking roll, man. I didn't realize he had that gear in him. And, you go back and look at that tape, he hurt Georgia 3 or 4 times on scrambles, but man, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, that guy can roll. And that running back's good. That stretch play's tough to defend. And Georgia found a way to win that football game against a very talented Missouri. But interesting, Jake, as you do X and O's and break this tape down, I was interested in how Georgia did that play in the slot with Lasser. That was a new wrinkle that I wasn't anticipating. I kept thinking Tyke Smith was going to get the majority. We talked about that a little bit last week. Tyke Smith versus Burden, and Georgia said, no, we'll put Lasser over there, and we'll see how it goes.
And I had a little bit of a thought that if they were going to move away from Tyke Smith, because we all know that he's maybe not Georgia's quickest defensive back, I thought they might move to Malachi Stark, similar to what they did in 2021, matching up against Tennessee with Latavius Brini coming out and Christopher Smith moving to that star slot defender position. So, I was impressed with it too, Rusty. Just seeing Kamari playing in a different spot, it was eye-opening at first. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Because 3 is not over by one of these sidelines.
And I'm on the sideline. I'm actually down on the field shooting photos, and I see 6, 12, and 3 in on like second down. I'm going, wait a minute. And I can't get a message to y'all. There's no signal in there. That's my only complaint about being in the stadium. I'm like, wait a minute, what in the heck is going on? So when you see that different package, I thought, wait a minute, here comes the wrinkle. And I was waiting for third down, and the third down wrinkle, they showed it on first down. So interesting, but I think that's you can take that package now and know how Georgia's about to play Ole Miss and how Georgia's about to play Tennessee in that passing game. And as we even talk about Georgia Tech and what they're doing offensively with Haynes King, they're throwing it all over the place. And so Georgia, the month of November, Georgia's going to face quarterbacks that can drive the ball down the field in offensive packages. That's kind of going to be their answer, I think.
And you don't lose much at all in the run game with Tyke Smith over the star because he's such a physical player. I mean, there was some talk his freshman year. I truly remember this, like right there at the end of preseason camp. It was maybe right before they went into their first game week after the second scrimmage. I'm pretty sure Kirby Smart told us, he was like, hey, guys, we got to figure out where Kamari is going to fit for us. He's going to be a full-time corner, or we're going to play him at star. And that's how they thought about him. And so to see him come out and be a star cornerback and then also be able to fill in at that nickel spot, I mean, you've got options galore on kind of how to solve teams and when you want to use them and the play tendencies. I mean, let's not pretend like Tyke Smith didn't play a crap load of snaps, all right? He tied for the team leading tackles with 7. He had a massive sack. He was around the football. He played a lot of snaps. But Georgia's got this kind of almost this flexibility in, on defense. I mean, it really is. It's a versatility within the defense to do some things like now you look at, okay, how's that going to spill over to the dime package when Georgia goes with 6, right? Now Georgia didn't even put 3 cornerbacks on the field in their dime package. Now they can put 3 on the field in nickel, put 3 on the field in dime, get Tyke Smith in there. You basically saw Tyke playing some nickel linebacker, some dime linebacker on third down, where he was kind of lined up as kind of an off ball. I mean, it's pretty wild, the possibilities that can come with that. I also thought it's pretty telling that along with that, you saw these packages where Georgia on second down, second and long, Jalen Walker would come in and rush the passer on, they would have Michael Williams on one end of the line of scrimmage, or they'd bring in Ty Ingram Dawkins to play inside, and Georgia went a little bit lighter there too. Now, listen, it didn't always work. But one thing I want to point to is the fact that Missouri in the month of October averaged 37 points a game and over 500 yards a game. Georgia held them to with under 2 touchdowns less than that, and well under over 100 yards less than their average coming in. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of talk, and Rusty, you and I were talking on the phone earlier. Cody Schrader, bowling ball, he had a good game. They figured out something. It was almost weird though. The moment Brady Cook stopped being able to scramble with the ball, Missouri figured out how to try to run the ball with Cody Schrader. It was almost like there was a give and take. And one thing I've got to say, and I'm going to say this now, Missouri just understands they have a way of playing Georgia. They have a method of going about it, whether it's that outside zone stuff, Rusty, whether it's the stuff they do on the defensive line. they've just kind of got a way of playing Georgia well. And even when Georgia blew them out in 2021, Missouri's the only team in the country to run for. I know that Georgia hadn't played at every team in the country these 3 straight years. Missouri's rushed for 100 yards on Georgia 3 straight years. Only team in the country to do that. Yeah. So that, I mean, they've got something that kind of works against Georgia.
They got that outside zone figured out. I'm telling you right now, that is a bread and butter play. And someone last night I trust told me that they have signs in their building and their offensive groups and their offensive meetings says if you can't block this, you're not going to be at Missouri. So that's just that's his bread and butter. That's his staple. And they got a running back right now that can do it. And I'm telling you right now, it might change this week, but I think Missouri beats Tennessee. I think Missouri at home comes back. I mean, they're just they are a tough football team, man. And I think as of right now, I would take Missouri over Tennessee. I hadn't even looked at the line, but I would take Missouri to beat Tennessee.
Well, so long as they don't end up with that Florida Arkansas get beat by Georgia twice in 2 weeks, I mean that's kind of a theme, with Georgia and Alabama, kind of the way they play you and the way they're real physical with you. But I had some people ask me, Rusty, they're like, hey, why didn't everybody, if it's so hard, if it's such an effective way to go about it, why doesn't everybody run outside zone? It is as somebody who grew up watching the Denver Broncos a lot, it is a mass execution. I'm talking about like you have to be able to execute it extremely. And not only that, you've got to have answers to a myriad of different ways that teams are going to try and defend against it. It's so demanding in terms of execution. It's hard for colleges to really perfect because you got the 20-hour rule. And it's so hard that even NFL teams that run it will have basically the same 5 or 6 runs and little variations off of it and how to do it out of different formations because there's so much muscle memory involved and there's so much that you've got to get figured out. I mean, I think Palmer Toms ran it at Montgomery Bell Academy or something like that. Didn't you guys outside zone too?
We ran a little bit of zone, but not a ton. And with athletes like me, not great.
Yeah.
Rusty, I'm seeing Tennessee 1.5 as the FanDuel line. And the thing that
Tennessee
I would throw
favored by 1.5.
Tennessee favored by 1.5. Yep.
Ooh.
The thing that I would say with that is you've got a Tennessee team that still has a slight chance to win the East, and a Missouri team that is, like you said, Jake, coming off of a emotionally taxing loss that knocks them out of contention for the division. And, it's a tough situation. Now, that game being in Columbia, I'm like y'all, I think I favor Missouri there. And talking to some people that are, Tennessee fans from my neck of the woods, they said, man, this team is in real trouble next week. They think Tennessee is in some trouble with a legit Missouri squad.
Yeah, Missouri at home is going to be a handful. I'm sure we'll mention that later in the week. But I just a quick glance on Sunday night after what I saw yesterday, I think this Missouri team. I don't know how they came out injury wise, but man, they're a handful to deal with.
We also got some more news out of that game. Dumis Johnson appears to have a forearm fracture. I went back and watched that play. I thought it was a shoulder in real time. I knew he was hurt when he came off the field. But no, man, you could see it plain as day. He made a nice tackle on Brady Cook, and you saw it hit right in the middle of that forearm, and it kind of jolted a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to have surgery. I don't know if if they're going to cast it up. I just have no idea. I do know that played high school ball with a guy who had a broken bone there, did not have surgery, but he still had to wear a long arm cast because they didn't want him pronating, suplinating, all that stuff. So it's tough. I mean, long-term prognosis, we're just going to go ahead and assume for now that he's going to miss a couple games at least. So what happens then, guys? Well, we saw Raylan Wilson play a lot. We've seen C.J. Allen play a lot. And then we've also seen Jalen Walker. Georgia's got a little bit of a dilemma here. And this is why. Xavier Sori didn't dress. So that we have to at least consider him kind of up in the air right now. Jalen Walker is so valuable to you on third down and in pass rush situations that you almost have to lean on the true freshman. I guess the piece of good news here is that EJ Lightsey's back dressing out, and Rusty, we heard a lot of really good things about him this summer and I mean this summer and spring. So maybe there, but at the very least, you've got to see CJ Allen's a week healthier. I don't know what's going to go on with Xavier Sawyer. It's hard for me to sit there and think, well, if he didn't dress out at all on Saturday, is he gonna step right back in? I don't know, but Georgia's got to figure it out.
What Kirby say on him?
Personal reasons. He said personal reasons. But I will say this, if in the past, if a guy's had to deal with a death in the family or a personal tragedy or something like that, Kirby usually will mention that.
Yeah.
And be a little bit more specific. I don't know. This one kind of has a different feel to it.
Yeah.
So but I don't want to really get into it because I don't want to speculate.
That's just something we'll get. But when you don't dress out,
yeah.
I mean, he wasn't even there. So I didn't see him anywhere. So that's something we'll look at this week. But it is something to ask because my thought there was he would probably start this week and then you rotate in because he started a few games in Small Monday and was kind of coming back.
Right.
You're at the time of year. My quick thing on that, you're at the time of year where you're 100% saying, hey, Jalen Walker is so valuable in third down, but it's a time of year as well where it's going to be a lot cooler and these kids can play a lot more snaps.
Yeah,
so
right.
You can play him on some first and second downs every other series maybe and say, look, your third
maybe
down.
Use Damon Wilson a little bit more on the edge.
Wilson can take a few reps. So every now and then, like now the weather is not an issue because of these kids are, plus Damon Wilson's playing more. And I tell you, man, he's a tad light in the pants, and that's expected right now. But I'm telling you right now, when it's third and long and he can pin his ears back, man, he's giving these tackles some issues because he's the one that pressured Cook into running up into Jalen Walker on that play. He made him flush him up in the pocket because he came around that tackle and Jalen Walker was sitting there waiting on him. So that's an ideal situation for Georgia with two young, outside backers and those types of guys. So they'll come up with something, but there's going to be some youth. There's definitely going to be some youth at at that spot at inside linebacker this week.
Yeah, and to me with Jalen and playing inside linebackers, it doesn't feel like we've ever really seen him as a true inside backer at all in these games because of the value that he brings as a pass rusher and in that specialty role. Kirby has told us for ever and ever that Jalen is being developed as an inside linebacker and last year he made the move to outside linebacker after Nolan's injury. This year he has been with the inside guys, missed spring practice because of a torn labrum, but has been with the inside backers this year. We haven't seen him working with the outside guys even the last couple of weeks when he's been in that role as such a prominent pass rusher for Georgia. Whereas we're seeing Damon Wilson work as an outside linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see. Jalen is a kid that has done it all. Played outside backer in high school. Inside is probably not his, natural position. He's just as big as a lot of these outside guys that Georgia has, if not bigger. And so that's why it comes pretty easily for him to be, just subbed in and thrown in as a pass rusher. It would be interesting to see because, he was seen so highly and was one of the top linebackers in the country and has the potential to be a great inside linebacker. This could be the opportunity that he needs, but to me, I look more to those two freshmen, CJ Allen, who's been playing a lot all season long, and Raylan Wilson, who got, subbed in immediately there. So, I have a little bit of pause with Jalen Walker as an inside linebacker and the replacement for Dumis Johnson, because we haven't seen him play that spot even in mop-up duty.
We've seen him play at mop-up duty quite a bit. I mean, he has some inside linebacker snaps this year. It's just it's tough to imagine them. Like Rusty said, I mean, I think he's going to be one of the guys that helps pick up the slack, right? But it's a by committee deal. You've got like, when you count the number of snaps that you're probably going to have to give Smile Munden a blow, you've got about 85 snaps that you've got to try and pick up here with that group, as opposed to with Jamon Dumis Johnson around. That snap distribution was probably more like 40-45. Now you've got to basically double that up.
And there's also, I believe, one game this really affected Georgia. This new time clock, this new clock is cutting down the number of snaps. So you're cutting down the number of plays. I believe Georgia in one game has the lowest defensive snaps, and I think it was 44 in one game. So you start talking about kids that's going to play 44 snaps. There's a lot of guys that aren't playing because they're not getting into the game. And that's usually typical, not a thing. But I think Georgia has the lowest defensive snaps so far. I saw that last week. I can't remember what game it was. They only had 44 defensive snaps. I looked around yesterday, and Georgia only had 3 offensive possessions in the first half, right? Until the very last one. Was their fourth one correct? I think they had only 3 I think they had 4 possessions.
They had 5. They had 5.
Okay.
Yeah, because they had 3 straight punts. They had 2 straight scores and 3 straight punts in the first half.
Okay. All right.
Georgia on average is facing 62 defensive snaps a game.
As opposed to last year, probably 70, 75. You know what I mean?
Last year was.
What do you think?
Doing the math here. Divided by 15. 63.
Man.
63.0.
It's a little closer. But you got some game flow issues in there too. I mean, it's one of the things I'll point to though is all right. So you're playing Ole Miss. Ole Miss is when we'll get into this a little bit deeper. Ole Miss is kind of explosive. They like
the year before they played a lot more snaps.
You look at all of that stuff, and maybe you see them slow it down just a little bit. But when you talk about playing 60 to 65 snaps a game, you're thinking Jamon Dumis Johnson is probably playing 35 to 40 of those for you. And then same thing for Smile Munden, right around 40 snaps. Well, you got to take those 25 snaps for Munden, and you got to take those 40 something snaps for Dumis Johnson, and then that group, it just has to spread it out now. You got to figure it out. Now, again, I'm wondering if maybe you might see a little EJ Lightsey. I mean, they went as deep as Ryan Davis and some other guys last year after some injuries, and then, found a way to trust those guys and play them more. I'm interested to see if they get there. But, listen, we know when it comes to talent, Georgia's got some dogs. They've got just some really good football players at that position. They're maybe a little bit green, but C.J. Allen's not necessarily a freshman anymore. Speaking of dogs, bird dogs. We got bird dogs. Palmer's got a bird dogs hat on right now. We've got bird dogs apparel, and they're our partner, and they're awesome, man. Listen, I put my joggers on. I'll say that so Palmer doesn't make fun of me, because I call them joggers because I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce them because they're German. Anyway, let's call them joggers. I put my joggers on the other day because nice and cool. Man, let me tell you something. My wife was a big fan. She likes my joggers. Okay, she's like, I like the way those joggers look on you. And we've been married for 11 years. She ain't said nothing like that, maybe once or twice, Rusty. So the joggers, man, we need to get you a pair of them.
That'll be a negative.
Rusty's got 4 kids already. He might have 5. Bird Dogs is awesome, man. We love Bird Dogs. The fabric is top notch. It's long lasting. It flows. It is some of the most comfortable stuff you can ever own. And they're our partner for a reason. We absolutely love them. As Jake Roos says all the time. That's
Jake Rowe modeling right there, guys.
Yeah. No, I got more calf than that right there. I got good calf game. Bad knee game, good calf game. There was one of those dudes got some Q angles going on right there. I think Jerry, our man Jerry Hamilton, go a little wild over the bow-leggedness right there because our evaluation guy. But anyway, okay. I like to get off the rails a little bit, but like Jake Roos says all the time, Bird Dogs he would stump for Bird Dogs whether they were a sponsor of ours or not. I have gotten to the same point. I see Palmer wearing his Bird Dogs all the time as well. Go check them out. Use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS at checkout, and you will get a Hydro Flask style water bottle with your purchase. And it is a cool little water bottle. So go check it out. Bird Dogs, best stuff out there. Let's chop some wood. And when I say chop some wood, let's have some dog stocks because I get my wires crossed on that. And Palmer, you're normally more prepared than the rest of us, so you go first.
Yeah, I will. Looking ahead to Ole Miss a little bit, the stock is up on, the Rebels and coming into this game. And, they took care of business and it wasn't necessarily pretty. But Georgia's got to play its best football. And I think that, stock up on Georgia's schedule for the whole season, because for as much, crap as it caught early on, coming out of last week, they had the 6th toughest remaining schedule with Missouri factored in there, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and then Georgia Tech there at the end. So those 4 games, 6th toughest remaining in the country. Ole Miss has, held up its end of the bargain here to make this a big game. I've got some high school buddies that told me, a couple weeks ago when Georgia was back in Nashville for that Vanderbilt game, they said, hey, maybe we'll come to Athens for that game, but Ole Miss has got to do their part. They got to, keep winning, and we'll see if that happens. That has happened, and man, we've got an exciting one on Saturday, 7:00 ESPN. I would expect a great crowd on hand for Senior Day. Potentially the last time a lot of these guys are going to be taking the field between the hedges. And again, a top 10 matchup that could clinch the East for Georgia. So they might have it clinched already if Tennessee has lost to Missouri. But a win on Saturday certainly seals the deal for the Bulldogs. So stock up on Georgia's schedule and Ole Miss, continuing to hold up their end of the bargain on, increasing that strength of schedule for the Bulldogs.
I want to touch on this question here real quick about Dalen Everett. Dalen Everett got beat deep Saturday by one of the best players in college football. Luther Burden's going to do that to guys on Sunday. At some point, he's going to do it to more people this year. I went back and watched that game, and you know what's crazy? And I'm not trying to take anything away from Julian Humphrey, who I thought responded extremely well to getting to play a lot more on Saturday. The difference between the 2 back shoulder balls that they threw at Julian Humphrey that fell incomplete and the 2 that they threw to Dalen Everett is the biggest difference, Rusty. The ones that they threw at Dalen Everett were right on the money, and the ones that they threw to Julian Humphrey weren't as catchable. That's how this game is played. And Dalen Everett has given up some stuff this year, but coming into yesterday's game, he was allowing 50% of his targets to be completed for just a little over 4 yards per attempt. His struggles have been magnified coming in because of the fact that he plays on the opposite side of Kamari Lassiter. But make no mistake about it, Dalen Everett got beat on Saturday. Granted, they picked on him. Played against some really good players too. So stuff's going to happen. You're going to got in the SEC unless your name's DeAndre Baker.
Their teams are going to throw at Dalen Everett, and they're going to throw at Julian Humphrey. They're not going to take their chances with Kamari Lassiter. They watch tape, so that's Georgia knows that. I understand that. That's what's going to happen. I guarantee you right now that Ole Miss is going to go after Dalen Everett. He knows that all week. He's going to have a great opportunity to make some plays, and a couple of those back shoulder throws that they made, especially late in the game yesterday, those things were, like you said, those are perfect throws, hard to defend. I watched Jake Fromm and Javon Williams do that to about 10 teams in a row, it seemed like that one year. Jake Fromm would throw that thing on that back shoulder, and Williams would just –
J.J. Holloman, too.
J.J. Holloman would just sit there and grab that ball, and, man, it was almost undefendable with guys with those long catch radiuses. So, it's just one of those things you got to prepare for. It's a week-to-week battle, and but I think that Georgia's going to make some plays there. I'll go ahead and get my stock up real quick. What we're doing here with dog stocks, and one quick note. I'm not going to like I know anything about it, but the girls soccer team at Georgia won their first ever SEC championship today, beat Arkansas, and that's certainly worthy of mention. And that's a big deal for that program. I saw all some Georgia players, some Georgia football, all those guys retweeting that and congratulating them. So those ladies, congratulations, and that's a big deal for that program. I'm going to say this in kind of a stock up challenge here. And I don't think it's going to be an issue, but Jake, you and I talked about it today. That crowd yesterday in Athens was kind of, you know what I mean? They got up a couple of times, but I kind of felt it in pregame because I'm where the recruits are coming out. That's where we take pictures. In the student section, you know, they were sitting down the whole time. You know, they were there early, you know, and I get it, but I've been over there when you can't even talk to somebody an hour before the game because, number one, the music is so loud, but number two, the student section's right there. And not blaming it all on the students, the entire stadium, you know, if I had to give a grade yesterday, it's probably a B- to me. But I will say this: it's going to be a night. It's going to be a night game. There's going to be how do I say this? There's going to be a lot of aluminum recycling done in the parking lot all day Saturday. Supposed to be a nice day, so I expect the Georgia crowd to bring their A game. And this is another time. This is the last crazy. This is the last home game of 2023 for Georgia. You know, you see these guys. Cedric Van Pran's already announced he's going to do senior day. You know, there's a lot of football players that you know just played a lot of games for Georgia. This is the last time that Brock Bowers is going to walk on that field with a jersey on, and that's enough to that guy and what he's done for University of Georgia, the games he's played in that building. I don't think they're going to special recognize him by any way. Maybe they will. I don't know, but unless something crazy happens, this is the last time that dude will ever come out of that tunnel with a jersey on.
Is he wearing pads?
Yeah, if he's wearing the pads, whatever, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying he had a jersey on yesterday on the sidelines, you know. So this guy, you know, not just about Brock Bowers, but that's kind of how much this moment means to these guys, this team. And, you know, you start talking about what if Tennessee loses and they already know they clinched the East. It doesn't matter because Georgia's not just playing for the East. You know what I mean? That's a good deal to have that off his shoulder. And I'm sure that'll be mentioned, but, you know, they're trying to play 15 games with this team. They're trying to be a three-peat. So I don't think if Tennessee were to lose and Georgia clinches this thing before they walk on the field, I don't think that's going to have any impact on this game because, you know, LSU still got a small outside chance of this deal with Alabama in this game. So, you know, I just think that you look at this Saturday, I think Georgia crowd's going to bring their A game, but they need to.
All right, I'm going to go stock down on the end of an era. Since 2015, I've got the pleasure of covering Georgia football full time. I'm not leaving, by the way. I'm just so y'all know.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. Saturday will be the last time I get to sit at the 45-yard line with one of the best seats in the house in this country. Open air press box. The finest press box in the land, just in terms of where you get to see the game from. Georgia Tech, honestly, is the only other one that rivals it because you're just closer to the field. But Sanford Stadium is perfect and has been for a long time for media. They're going to folks that contribute more money to the program than I ever have are going to end up getting those seats. They're going to end up getting a nice little, you know, luxury boxes or whatever there. They're going to move us to the corner of the end zone. They're going to put baby in a corner. And that's going to be us. But anyway, I'm going to miss it. I was thinking about it on Saturday, Palmer, right around the middle of the fourth quarter. I'm like, man, I ain't got much more of this. And as a young kid who started coming to Georgia games in 1995, and I've watched them from all over the stadium, that'll always be my favorite seat, is right there at that spot. And I'll never be there again. But it was a lot of fun covering as many games as I did from right there.
That was actually that'd be the last 3:30 CBS game as well ever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Also, stock up on Thomas Edison and the incandescent light bulb. I don't even know if he invented that. I know he invented the light bulb because Georgia's going to get to play under the lights. And boy, is it's daylight savings time. We're all about to experience that. I feel like it's like 10:30 right now. But do y'all understand that the sun will have been down for a couple of hours almost by the time kickoff comes? I mean, there's going to be some nighttime tailgating Plug them up at the generator plug up to the generator at the tailgate, get that light going. No brown until the sun goes down, and you're good to go. But I mean, gonna be a big night.
Ole Miss, the only team this year that sold their entire allotment of tickets and then asked for more. Now, obviously, they didn't get them, but Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss sold 7,500, I believe. So they'll and there's a lot of Ole Miss alumni in Atlanta.
Hey, and I'm gonna challenge you, Georgia fans. Ole Miss fans claim to never lose a party.
Yeah.
They claim that they never lose a party. So,
high of 65, low of 45.
Yep.
Do what you will with that information. Ole Miss fans say they never lose a party. Georgia fans, as our good buddy Dean Legge would say, compete. Okay, just get out there and compete. All right, that's it for this Georgia show. Listen, Bark After Dark's Tuesday this week. We're having Brandon Boykin, former Georgia defensive back. We moved it around so that we could have him on because he's one of the best dudes in the world. He's going to be a lot of fun. Roos and I will have him on Tuesday night, 9 o'clock live on this channel, 9 o'clock live on Wednesday. 8 o'clock live on Wednesday. We'll have the Georgia show, pregame show on Saturday morning ahead of the 7 p.m. kickoff with Ole Miss. We will catch you all later.